Hey, it's Shane the Creative, and welcome to my video. As you can see from the title and or thumbnail, it's finally time to bring to y'all my highly anticipated video, the one y'all been waiting for. But nah, for real, I'm about a year or two late, but I'm going to finally be talking about the revival of the Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, as I had promised to in one of my first videos titled Our Problematic Faves, the Proud Family. Now, if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to put the link to it in my pinned comment and in my description so you can check it out. It's a bit cringy and the quality is even worse than my current quality, child. But I'm going to be referencing to that video several times in this video, as I'm going to be pulling comparisons to the good and the bad parts of the Proud Family that I have mentioned before. So just if you want to check that out before listening to this. So before I get into reviewing Louder and Prouder, I want to set up how I'm going to structure this video. I'm going to jump back and forth between specific aspects that I liked and disliked about the original Proud Family, then compare it to the current revival. I plan on making this video before season 2 was released, but after watching season 2, I've noticed some huge differences between season 1 and season 2. So certain commentary I have towards season 1 of the revival won't apply to season 2 and vice versa. So that's kind of why, while I'm going through making my comparisons between the revival and the original, I'm also going to make comparisons between season 1 and season 2 of the revival. Hopefully that makes sense and that y'all bear with me, but alright, let's finally get started. The first point I want to get into is how the revival stays true to the original, despite Louder and Prouder also being considered as a reboot. It still very much stays consistent with the original. In season 1, we're reintroduced to many of the minor characters who could have easily been left out of the revival, considering how relatively small of a role they played to the overall show and to its plot. Characters like Frankie, Principal Rhonda Hightower, Peebo, Mr. Chimp, Al Roker's character. And then in season 2, we get the return of Cousin Ray Ray. We also get moments where they literally showcase clips from the original show to directly reference it in the revival. They do that enough where it feels like they're playing homage to the original, but not too much as if it's having to piggyback off of the original and its footage to make the revival interesting. So I really like that about it. And I personally love that feeling of nostalgia and just respectfully acknowledging the original, you know? Another way they kept up with the consistency is by keeping the personalities and character traits of the core characters from the original Proud Family. So even in the revival, Penny's friends are as fake as press-on nails, child.
Oh, she is as fake as press-on nails.
Oscar is still obnoxious, and Trudy is still a queen. Like, she's mother for real, for real. But I must say that in season 2, they showcase Penny's friend group being much better friends in general, and even Oscar is much more likable and less insufferable. So that's one of the improvements I noticed between season 1 and season 2. Now for the second point, I want to look into some of the problematic aspects of the original and if it carried over into the revival. Now this is where I really noticed a huge difference between season 1 and season 2 of Louder and Prouder. My main core issues with the original Proud Family was the exhibited colorism within the show and the creepy trope of the one-sided crush that dipped into being just straight up harassment and relying on problematic stereotypes for marginalized characters. In season 1 of Louder and Prouder, the Grove sisters make a return, and there's even a couple of unnecessary comments made about their darker complexion. But in season 2, they're seemingly absent throughout the whole season, except for the Us-inspired episode that had the evil doppelgangers and the return of the Peanut People. I personally don't mind the Grove sisters getting less screen time, considering that 8 out of 10 times when they're shown, their only contribution to an episode is them being aggressive bullies and to be the butt of some anti-black jokes. In season 1 of Louder and Prouder, they very much relied on that predatory, one-sided crush trope for Labs, i.e. Dejanay's constant harassment of the new male character, KG, and Sugar Mama's odd relationship with Poppy. But in season 2, they toned down on playing into that trope in both instances, especially in Dejanay's and KG's case, which was honestly a huge improvement in my opinion. Then in season 1, we're introduced to a newly styled and fully out version of Michael, which I personally feel like was a nice little improvement to his original character, who only for the most part was hinted to be gay just because of how feminine his traits and mannerisms were. We also get some really cute, complete outfit changes for Michael, which at first, I'm not gonna lie, I was confused by because I thought he was a whole new character entirely, but nah, he was just serving looks, and this continued to be the case in season 2 too. Also, the previously known Chang triplets did not make a return in season 1 of the revival, which I feel like was the best thing to do, as the Chang triplets' main character traits were being Asian stereotypes. But we do have a scene in season 2 that features seemingly 3 new Asian characters: Billy, who we see several times throughout the season, Julie, and Debbie. And just based off of their short scene together, they already have more identifying traits and actual personality than the Chang triplets had in the original Proud Family. I don't mean to compare because there's been nothing so far to confirm that the 3 are related at all, meaning that they may not even be direct replacements for the Chang triplets. But either way, I'm happy to have more representation of other people of color, and I hope they eventually play a bigger part in the show and get more storylines of their own. Now, onto my third point, I want to get back to one of the pros of the original, the pop culture references and the celebrity appearances. I remember when I rewatched all of the original Proud Family before I made my problematic fave video, and one of my favorite aspects of it was seeing the amazing celebrity they got to feature in the show, and the references to pop culture, whether it was with a joke or a scene or entire episode. Like, both of those aspects of the show really helped with the ambiance of it all. Kind of like the razzle dazzle. Like, it's something that made the show a little extra special, especially as a black person. Like, this show was truly for the culture and our community, in my opinion. And the revival continued to keep up with that magic. Some of my favorite references made throughout the revival were to the movie Friday and having the character Debo, them referencing the Cheetah Girls, the Nutty Professor, and the horror movie Us, which is personally one of my faves. They also feature and guest star some amazing celebrities like my girl Lizzo, Gabby Douglas, Leslie Odom Jr., Gabrielle Union, Britta Song, Lil Nas X, Normani, Queen CeeLo Green, Lori Hernandez, Mama Knows, Miss Tina. Like, it was just truly iconic. Like, just iconic. For the fourth point, I want to discuss the message they display and the way they touch on social issues. The original Proud Family is known to tackle some pretty important, controversial topics, especially considering that it is a show geared towards a younger audience. Some of the most popular ones being episodes like Culture Shock, where they touch on Islamophobia, the episode Who You Calling a Sissy, where they touch on homophobia, and the iconic I Have a Dream episode. The revival does a great job, if not better, dare I say, at tackling these important and sensitive topics in a tasteful manner. Now, I will say that there were a couple of moments during season 1 where I was watching the episode and was questioning the message / point that they were trying to make, up until the very end of the episode, where I'll be like, oh, okay, I guess I see what you did there. I see what you did. And I guess I see what you're trying to say. Like with the episode Bad Influencer and Raging Bully, I don't know, maybe they could have done it better, or maybe I'm just dumb, but the message they were trying to make was a bit foggy for me for the first half of the episode. But even with the exception of those episodes, almost every other episode in both seasons 1 and season 2 of the revival does a great job at touching on important issues and making important messages. Throughout season 2 of the revival, they touch on the subject of sexism and patriarchy, autism disorder, activism, anti-blackness, plus more. And it's done in an extremely well manner, which is also important, especially considering the younger audience that watches the show and the messages that's being taught to them. I just love that, especially for our black youth to be taught about issues that they're going to unfortunately encounter in their real lives as well. Now for the last point, because I already know this video probably gonna be long like most of my videos, I just want to take a moment to look at the comedy of the show. While rewatching the original Proud Family like 2 years ago, I found myself laughing out loud literally like several times throughout an episode. Now don't get me wrong, like I mentioned before, there were definitely problematic and poor taste jokes made, but besides those, the comedy still held up pretty well for the original to get genuine laughs out of me about 20 years later after its release. The revival very much held its own too when it comes to the comedy. It's still cute and corny enough to appeal to a younger audience while also having its clever, funny, more adult jokes for the more grown audience to enjoy it as well. I also want to take a moment to talk about how amazing the animation is in the revival. It sticks to the style of the original while also being much more fresh, modern, and detailed. Like, I can't tell y'all how many times I'll be watching an episode and just admire the designs of certain characters and how good the animation looks. I'm going to look to find some of the animators online because I know I saw a few on Instagram, just so I can include them here because they deserve their recognition and praises. So in conclusion, do I think the show got better or worse? Personally, I feel like there's no valid points I can make in the case of the revival being worse than the original. Now, I know there's some girlies who like to tussle, but just hear me out for a second. Is there a valid criticism to be made against the revival? Yes. And if you have any, please feel welcome to share them in the comments. I love discussing shows and seeing other perspectives of it. For me, I went into the revival with certain expectations and improvements to be made from the original. Were those expectations met? Yes, for the most part it was. Am I satisfied with the improvements? For the most part, yes, again. Are there still improvements to be made? Of course. I feel like in the case for almost everything, there's always ways to improve something. There's improvements that were made just from season 1 of the revival on to season 2. I feel like season 1, they were lightly testing the waters, hence how the first season was more kind of light and stayed so close to its similarities with the original in certain aspects. But as soon as they got the renewal for season 2, they took off with making the revival the way they wanted, in my opinion. Or who knows, maybe they took in some of the criticism and feedback they received from the first season. Either way though, I'm honestly extremely satisfied with the revival, like I must admit. And I'm looking forward to the next season. So, what do you guys think? Did y'all like the revival? Did you prefer season 1 or season 2? I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy, and I hope you consider liking the video and possibly subscribing and checking out some of my other content. So, till next time, hope you have a great week. Peace.